Hello, and welcome to Odds on Premier League's Matchday 36. The title race is now all between Arsenal and Manchester City. Liverpool completely out of the picture. At the bottom of the table, we can now add Burnley to the mix to avoid relegation alongside Luton and Nottingham Forest. To help us analyze and to share his best tips, we have, as always, Tom Rennie. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing you.
I'm good. I know you're getting ready to vote. Uh, Hopefully, you're gonna get what you want in that.
Yeah, as our democratic rights. Why not?
Amazing. And before we get going with the show, guys, as always, as a priority, if you haven't done yet, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. But now, let's go on with the show. All right, Tom, we said yes, it's match day 36. But before we go into all the schedule for round match day 36, we have tonight Chelsea Tottenham, which is a postponed game from match day 26. If I'm not wrong, on that time Chelsea was involved in FA Cup, so the game was postponed for tonight. We have a Chelsea that at least managed to change the picture. They show us in the Emirates after that 5-0 thrashing. They went to Villa Park, always a tough turf to be involved. The first 45 minutes was like a continuation of that 5-0 against Arsenal. I don't know what Pochettino or whoever or his assistants or anyone had said at the changing room at halftime, because things quite improved in the second half. So, which phase are we going to see tonight against Tottenham?
It's a great introduction to Chelsea because I don't know anymore. I just don't know. I mean, your point is absolutely right. To be fair, it was true of Tottenham as well in the game we were at together on Sunday, the North London derby. Both teams exceptional for one of the halves of the game they played, and then pretty poor in the other half of the game. So, look, I think Chelsea losing Thiago Silva is not great for them. He's one of the few players in the squad over 30, never mind nearing 40. At times, they do lack direction. They lack leadership. I think Enzo Fernandez not being in midfield is a good thing for them rather than a bad thing. I think he's been a bad fit and should be sold as soon as possible. And Conor Gallagher going into a deeper midfield role alongside Caicedo seemed to work at Villa at times. So, and Cole Palmer's obviously been exceptional. Didn't do much at Villa Park in the first half.
Yep.
Second half, got his foot on the ball a bit and tried to dictate play. And in terms of Tottenham, I mean, I thought they were fantastic in the first half against Arsenal last week, 3-0 down. They concede bad goals a lot, Tottenham Hotspur. That's their issue. And Postecoglou in the post-match was talking about, if I thought defending from corners would change our season, I'd work on it all week. Hey, Ange, if you could stop conceding corners, you might have won the league, mate. Like, that is the problem. Stop conceding rubbish goals. They concede so many rubbish goals. You don't need to work very hard to score against Tottenham. Now, that's a deeper question for your coaching analysts, but what it does tell us is they're going to concede in this game, as they concede in a lot of games. 52 goals conceded to 67 scored. They have been so much fun this season, Tottenham, but if you compare that to, say, Liverpool, 36, Man City, 32, Arsenal, 28, that's the top three, and I picked them out for a reason. That's where Tottenham are aiming, and they can't do that if they're going to concede 20 more goals than that trio of teams. So I think here, I haven't bet on many Chelsea wins all season. If you are going to bet on a Chelsea win, take Cole Palmer and Chelsea. Double that up, you double your money. But for me, on these odds, I'm just going to take Tottenham. Tottenham straight up to win at nearly double your money. They're a better team with more to play for. It's a big derby. Smarting from Sunday. Take Tottenham.
So there you go, Tottenham to win, so to recover from the North London derby defeat against Arsenal. Joshua, yes, I was going to mention that in the comments. Cole Palmer to score is becoming, at even when they play at Stamford Bridge, it's becoming like a safe bet almost to say of like Cole Palmer to score. But now, yes, Tom, we can start with the match day 36, which is going to kick on Friday, tomorrow night, with Luton and Everton. There was a moment, Tom, not so long ago when that we were watching Luton and we could see a team that could really survive and stay in the Premier League, because even when they were losing, they were competitive and the defeats used to be small margins for one goal. However, since the start of February, things started to change. They have taken 6 points out of the possible last 42. From conceding 1.8 goals on average per game, they in the first 21 games, they now move into conceding almost 3 goals per game in the last 14. In the meantime, Burnley is in the mix as well to avoid the comeback to the championship. At least the good news is that despite these poor numbers I was just saying lately, or from February from Luton, Forest is only 1 point above. But
Yeah.
now comes this Everton team that have an incredible April, 13 points, if I'm not wrong, they have taken last month. And so I will take those odds for an away win all day, but I don't know what's your view.
Yeah, I love that. 2.69 for an Everton win. I love that. I'll take it. I'll run away with it. I think that's really, really good because of the points you raised there about Luton Town. And I think what happened with Luton is that they had such a long injury list, and we all wibble on
Yeah.
about, oh, Man United had 7 or 8 players missing, and Chelsea, how are Chelsea coping without their 700th player? Luton Town have a very, very small squad, and if they had their strongest team available, Tom Lockyer, the captain, would start at centre-half. Amari Bell would be alongside him, who was brilliant for points at the start of the season. They've lost a lot of the back line. They lost Jacob Brown for a period of time. They lost just so many players. And
Adebayo up front.
back now, but they lost him for what, 2 months, 3 months? I mean, they don't have the cover. They don't have the players. And to be fair, if it wasn't for the points deductions of Everton and Forest, they'd be gone already. So, look, they've done be in the mix to a degree, but they're also well worthy of relegation. And the form has not been good enough. The home form has not been good enough. There is no fear of Kenilworth Road from this generation of players. And so you can't back them to win. I know they beat Bournemouth recently at home, really impressively. And I know the double your money is still good for Luton. So if you fancy them, I always say go with your gut. 2.75 is absolutely fine. But for me, I wouldn't touch it. Everton, with no pressure for the first time pretty much all season. You could maybe include last weekend. We backed them rightly to win again. But they win. Take a group bet here. I think it's going to be a narrow margin game. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. And also Everton defensively this season. I think Jordan Pickford's kept 11 or 12 clean sheets this season. They've conceded 48 goals. And you might think, well, that's a lot. Well, the teams around them, Brentford, 60. Palace, 57. West Ham in the top half, 65 goals conceded to Everton's 48. Huge, huge difference. Everton win to 0 without conceding, 5.5. I love all those bets.
Amazing. So that was Luton, Everton, our first match. Next is Saturday lunchtime, Arsenal, Bournemouth at the Emirates. Well, what a team, the Arsenal. They are so good, and they have amassed almost as well like such a level of consistency, Tom, that they could race into a 3-0 lead, like happened on Sunday, without even really playing well. What you mentioned, Tottenham, they were like doing right things in that first half, and they went to halftime losing 3-0. And also they added like different layers, not to this beauty of their passing and combinations game, most notably the threats and goals on set pieces. They have scored 21 goals from set pieces, 16 of them from corners, and they can also do like something very Manchester City like. They can kill games early and quick. Last weekend, Højbjerg on goal for Arsenal was the 12th goals inside the first 15 minutes of a game, the highest so far in the league. Bournemouth, of course, having a very good season on their own terms, but they are no match at this time, I believe, to Arsenal, and they have picked up only 1 point from 9 games against the current top 5 Bournemouth. So where do you find value here?
I just want to say this at the top because I don't feel like it's going to happen, but I do find it irresistible. I am drawn in by this. Across the last 10 games in the Premier League, the best team statistically are Manchester City. Number 2 is Arsenal. Number 3 is Bournemouth. Some of the football they are playing is fantastic. They have a terrific goal threat with Solanke and Semenyo, Justin Kluivert, low-key, one of the best players of the second half of the Premier League season. Alex Scott in midfield, getting better on a weekly basis. I think Zabani missed last week, but should be back for this one, hopefully. But even without him, in Senesi, who's been fantastic at centre-half this season, so much to like about Bournemouth. And, you know, I don't think they're going to win, okay? So this is going to be a bit of a puncher's swing. But if you're looking for form teams to go to Arsenal and win, Arsenal having the crumble we see every year. We saw it against Villa a couple of weeks ago. Saw it against Southampton and West Ham last season. We saw it against Brighton on the last home game of last season when it was all over for them and they just emotionally fell apart. Don't be amazed here if Bournemouth win. And at 13, that's 12-1. I think that's worth a fiver. So I am going to put a fiver of my money on that this week, even though I don't think it's going to happen. But I think the form suggests there's a possibility. And when there's a possibility for a small bet for a big return, I like to take it. But Arsenal are favourites for obvious reasons. I still think they're probably going to win. 1.21 tells you that. And the bet that's coming a lot for me this year with Arsenal, it keeps on coming in. Arsenal to win without conceding. Last week it didn't. But if you go before that, it did against Chelsea. It did against Wolves. It did against Brighton. They're defensively very strong. Midfield, they often have control of games. They score goals and are able to shut them down more often than not. I know last week was a bit anomalous, but they still won the game. Arsenal win to nil brings you in at 2.2. That's some money there. And also, I think it's going to be quite tight as well. I don't see Arsenal thrashing Bournemouth. So Arsenal win under 3.5 goals. That brings you in at 2.5. I think it's going to be a quite tight affair that Arsenal just shade. Think about maybe Wolves away, that sort of game. I think it's going to be quite similar to that.
Someone in the comment as well, Joshua, pointing at Kai Havertz scoring anytime. But don't you think, Tom, sorry, that this emotional side part of Arsenal, which is always and always, we always think, okay, at some point is going to take over them, that they put that debate to rest this season and lately also, like winning games like last Sunday, those games when maybe we are thinking, okay, maybe this is the time when Arsenal is going to drop points, but they don't do it.
Well, I would throw Porto
Villa,
away,
say, yeah.
Bayern Munich, and Aston Villa at you for three recent examples of where it went wrong for Arsenal. And look, you can lose a game of football. Anybody can, right? But I would say Bayern at home. They were too into it. They were too up for it, and they couldn't control themselves. Maybe a bit like Tottenham on the other side of things at the weekend, that first half where they treated Arsenal at home like it was the cup final. Villa were fantastic that day, but Arsenal were... They got too intense and they got too ratty and they were rushing passes and trying too much and got caught by pushing too many forward. So, look, I don't think it's totally gone. I think this Arsenal was better than the last Arsenal, but the last Arsenal, this would have happened a few weeks ago. I think there is a possibility. I'm not saying it's not my top tip, but yeah. I'm just saying it's something I'm not ignoring.
All right, perfect. So now we can then move on to Brentford and Fulham. After their 5-1, yes, away win to Luton, that was Matchday 34. I was expecting to see, to be honest, a much better version of Brentford in Goodison Park. I don't know, maybe relaxation mood took over them because the Premier League status is confirmed for them. Luton and Burnley, they cannot go or they cannot get to 35 points. The last time at home for the Bees was a win against but Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, sorry. No, Sheffield United, yes. I'm correct with the correct Sheffield, yes. But prior to that, Tom, they spent 5 home games without winning. For Fulham to play away is not a good plan this season because 9 out of their 12 wins, they all came in Craven Cottage. My first thought, to be honest, when I saw these fixtures was this is a draw. It's which has odds almost close to 4. But Fulham made me a bit skeptic for a draw just because they drew only 2 of the last 12 Premier League games. How do you see it?
It screams draw, frankly. You're absolutely right. It screams draw. I think Brentford are in such a weird transitional moment. They keep losing big players, but they're not replacing them in the way, say, Brighton do. They're about to sell Ivan Toney, who looks massively bored of being back at Brentford. He doesn't want to be there. He has been hawking himself around to any club that will listen. The club, to be fair, are doing the same thing. They want the Toney money to reinvest in this squad because it needs massive reinvestment. Brian Mbeumo looks 2 stone overweight. He's always been a beefy guy, but he looks like he's been out for a long time. One of those guys that might need 10, 12, 15 weeks to get in good shape. Trouble for him is the season ends in 3. So lots of issues there for Brentford. And I do like them. I think next year they're going to struggle. I think this year has not been great for them. Only 9 wins, 2 in the last 5. And they were a kind of smash and grab raids. This summer's going to be massive for them. They need to get as much money for Ivan Toney as possible to buy 6 players. If they don't do that, I think next year is going to be a real issue for Brentford. So kind of makes the rest of this season a bit of nothing for them. And for Fulham, if their away form match their home form this season, they'd be in European conversation at least. It hasn't. And I was really surprised, actually, with how poor they were in the game against Crystal Palace last week. Really surprised how poor they were in the loss at home against Liverpool, considering that their home form had been so good. The West Ham win a couple of weeks previous was great. However, again, they caught West Ham 2 days after Leverkusen away. I mean, could that have been better for them? I don't know. I think on another day, West Ham would have won that quite comfortably. So, I don't know. It's a tough one, this. I'll take draw only because I think you've got two teams here heading for a pretty decent rebuild. Brentford's more significant than the others. I don't think Brentford's home form fills me with confidence, nor does
Yeah.
Fulham's away form. If I was going to pick one way or the other, I would just shade for Brentford as the home team, but 3.6 for a draw. Love it.
Amazing. So that's the tip for Brentford and Fulham. Next is Burnley Newcastle. Tom, the most important game, I believe, of the season for Burnley, even though after 35 games, they show the fewest points and most joint defeats in the club history in the Premier League. But they're still in the fight. They're still in the mix and playing at home after a draw at Old Trafford. They lost only one of the last 7. They took 10 points in that run. All Burnley's 5 wins, anyway, have been against teams in the bottom 8. But more than that, the last time they kept a clean sheet, that was in before Christmas. And when you face Newcastle, which is a team which is highly likely to score, and when you face Alexander Isak at the moment that you know he will score, then it's becoming complicated. And when you look at the odds for a Newcastle win, which are pretty decent at 2, again, it's something that I will take it. As I said with Everton against Luton, I will do the same with Newcastle against Burnley.
Well, what's notable about Burnley here is that for the first time since November, when they fell in the bottom 3, their destiny is in their own hands, and that might change things. And the reason I say that is because they've got Newcastle here, Tottenham away, horrible fixtures. Final day of the season is Burnley, Nottingham Forest at Turf Moor. It doesn't really get more opportunistic than that if you are Burnley. If you win your games, you'll stay in the league. And that has not been the case for half a year. That works 2 ways. Number one, it brings incredible performances. We've seen in great escape seasons from West Bromwich Albion and Leicester City and West Ham United. Loads of teams over the years have done great escapes. It also brings collapses. It also brings pressure. It also brings, oh dear, if we win this game, we're back in the mix. And if I was to bet one way or the other, I go with the latter. I think Burnley absolutely crumble here. They can't sort the goalkeeper out. All this praise for Muric last week, or is it Gerbic? I forget which one. Is it Muric or Gerbic? One or the other.
Muric.
It is Muric. Yeah, Gerbic is the Sheffield United. I keep doing that. I'm questioning myself. I got it right. Anyway, he's rubbish. There was loads of praise for him last week for he looks cool, calm, and composed. Yeah, he cost him 6 points. Who cares what he does? But James Trafford's no better. Offensively, I like Oddspedia. I have some time for Fofana. I think Brownhill and Cullen have been a good base to the team in recent weeks, but look, I don't see it. I don't see him beating Newcastle. I know Newcastle's away form has been pretty ragged this season. I know they still have a significant injury list with Fabian Schär joining Joe Willock and Almiron, Lascelles, Miley, Botman, Trippier, Joelinton. Some talk Nick Pope's back in training this week, but he ain't going to play. But even with that, with Anthony Gordon fit, with Alexander Isak in the form that he is in, chasing down the Premier League's golden boot, Newcastle win. Double it up with an Alexander Isak goal, who's in terrific form right now. That brings you to 2.88. That's near double your money just for Isak to score and Newcastle to win. Newcastle to win on its own, frankly, at 2. I'm surprised that's not 1.5. That's higher than I would expect for a Newcastle win. So I would just take your hand off for that one. The only element of doubt I have is if Burnley do what I don't expect, and that's have a gargantuan performance, but I still wouldn't back them to win. Maybe take the draw at 3.9, because it's up to 4.1 now, I note. So, look, Newcastle with Isak, but don't discount the draw if you're feeling brave.
Yeah, people agreeing, Tom, to go for Newcastle. They just add in the mix in the comment section the both team to score into the mix, which I take the Newcastle and both team to score. Will take the odds to 3. But for Burnley to score, I don't know. Even if
17 goals, 17 home goals all season, averaging 1 goal a game. I don't think that's safe. It's not impossible. Anything could happen, but I don't find that to be a safe bet, so I'm not going to tip it.
Perfect. So we move then to Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest. Tom, Sheffield United has already conceded 97 times. I mean, could you think of Forest being the one who makes it to 100? Anyway, for me, it sounds a bit implausible, but even if it is just a 1-goal margin, they will take it, of course, all the way. At the same time, it's a weird feeling with Forest after the defeat with City, Tom, because they went, to be honest, I mean, I was watching the game and they went like toe-to-toe with City and to come up with nothing, it felt a little bit unlucky. So my point being, like, they can compete, or they show they can compete the way they done it last Sunday, even on defeat. So how they put themselves in this situation? The win for Forest offers a very low or not high value if they win, but combine maybe Forest to score first and win, it takes the odds to 2.65. Something for sure, I believe, goals we can expect here, or not.
Yeah, goals. Absolutely. These two teams cannot defend, frankly.
Yeah.
I do think that the one thing I will tip here for Sheffield United, even though they're absolutely useless, is that Ben Brereton Diaz has been scoring goals recently. He looks quite decent. I think he'll get a Premier League contract next year. And if you take Sheffield United to score the opening goal and Forest to win, big money. That's going to really deliver for you. There's no form pattern that suggests it, so I'm not going to take it as a top tip. But I do think they can score. So if you go Blades with the opening goal, which is rare and doesn't happen, there's good money to be made here. But look, Sheffield United, they're down. They are useless. They've had all sorts of issues. Long discussed. They weren't ready for the Premier League and they're already down. So forget about them. That's the only thing I would suggest, that they'll probably score a goal here because Forest are defensively weak and Sheffield United do have goal scorers. In terms of Nottingham Forest, look, I read a book recently, 61 Hours by Lee Child, a Jack Reacher book. And there's a character called Plato. And Plato's sort of catchphrase is, because I'm Plato and you're not. And that's why things happen for Plato. And the reason Man City won last week against a good Forest performance is because they're Man City and you're not. And that's it, right? They've got Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland. You don't. That's why you don't have them. So you can't, there's no barometer here. Were they good? Who cares? Doesn't matter what Forest did against. I would have played nobody. I would have rested everybody. The City game is a waste of life for most teams. So don't bother with it. This game is the exact opposite. So important. They're defensively useless, Nottingham Forest. All this praise for Murillo. He's not a centre-half. He's a good footballer. He's not a centre-half. It drives me mad. They haven't got defenders. They haven't got people who've got good defensive instincts. Everyone they've got is better going forward. So forget defence. Forget it. Move Murillo forward. Move Nico Williams forward. Get them all forward. And score as many goals against Sheffield United, as you mentioned, 97 conceded already. Yeah. Fingers crossed for the 100 as you possibly can. 17 goals scored in 17 for Forest away is useless. 1 draw in the last 5 away is useless. 2 wins away from home all season is useless. But you are going to get high bars in all of these metrics. So shots on goal from both teams. Go over 8 on target for both. Look at over 5 corners for both. Look at both teams to score. Look at an over 3.5 average. For me, Forest and both teams to score at 2.88. That's your winner that's going to come in. But look at all the overs, all the balls ups, all the idiocy you could possibly imagine in this game, because that's, I think, what you're going to get.
Yeah, and I like the one that our producer and I was flashing there on the screen, the 88% chance for over 9.5 corners. That's actually could be something very likely to happen there in Sheffield United. I'm sorry, against.
They'll be annoyed with you. They'll be annoyed with you now. We're going to get lots of emails now from the United fans. What are you doing? Don't get us in trouble.
At least there's no more Sheffield after this game. That's it. So the next one, the last match on Saturday, Tom, is Manchester City, Wolverhampton. City, well, unbeaten in the last 19 Premier League matches, 31 unbeaten games in all competitions. They will play again after Arsenal and on the weekend. We said Arsenal Bournemouth kicks off Saturday lunchtime. But anyway, this doesn't affect the Pep's team at all. City have conceded anyway the joint most goals from fast break, 7 goals, which doesn't sound a lot, but still is the high most on breaks. And it's the highest under Guardiola. And then Wolverhampton comes having like forwards with pace, like Mateus Cunha, Wang Hee-chan, Pablo Sarabia. If he plays, usually he starts on the bench. But Joao Gomez as well could make runs from midfield, and they could hurt City that way. And then you remember that game when Adama Traore was part of the team and Raúl Jiménez were part of Wolverhampton, and that's the way they managed to hurt City. That was on fast breaks. Yeah. But at the same time, even if this happens and Wolverhampton scores, then you have the other numbers or the other stats on City saying like they've taken 24 points out of losing possession, so out of losing position. So there's nothing I should be looking maybe on these numbers and just look for the Asian handicap in this case for City.
Leo, they're Manchester City and
Yeah.
you're not. Okay?
Again, that's Plato.
That's
Yeah.
this is it. This is where we are. They're Man City and Wolves. Look, they were on the cusp of a great season. They ran out of players. They didn't sign a striker in January. Cunha's good. I like Hwang Hee-chan. Good to see him back. You mentioned some of the good players they've got. I like Wolves. I like Gary O'Neill. I'm delighted with how good their season has been. But in the end, it's over. The show is over. The job is achieved. The objective is done. And now it's about what we do next for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And they're going to hold on here for dear life. City, you've got nothing else to do, nothing else to play for. There's no Champions League. There's no whinging about, oh, we had to play 2 games this week. Well, there you go, Pep. There's your week off. Enjoy it, right? So, how many are they going to win by? That's all that matters here. They've been scoring more goals recently. Haaland scoring at the weekend's ominous for everyone else. Kevin De Bruyne, I think, is the top assist maker in the league, despite the fact he didn't play a full game until... One was the Newcastle game, January, like he played August and he missed 5 months and now he's the top assist maker in half a season. Everyone else had 10, 20 more games. 5-0. Now, what does it matter here? Like, when you're doing a City bet, that's all you got to look at. -2 brings you to 1.83. That's my safe and conservative bet, right? So that brings you in at a 3-0 victory for 1.83. A team to win 3-0 at 1.83 is ludicrous. So take that. That's gone up to 1.9. -4 is 5-0, so that brings you in at 6. That gives you some cover if Wolves do get one. That's probably what I'll take. But, a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if I mentioned this. I went to, was it last week? I went to Arsenal-Chelsea, and I put a fiver on 33-1, 5-0. I just fancied it on my way in. I had my other bets came off. It was Arsenal 3 goals. It was like never do exact scores, right? I would never tip exact scores as my top bet. But at the moment with Man City, you're only going to make money on punts on exact scores. So take 5-0. Take 6-0. 5-0, what, 11? Take it. Do it. Why not? Give it a whirl. If you're going to bet on this game, that's what you got to do. You double it with 20 shots. De Bruyne scores. Haaland scores. They're too good. They're too good. They're ruining football. 5-0.
Well, at least, City to win 2-0 is not amazing. That's one. Like the comment is saying, that's 1.75. City to win 2-0. But yes, it's screaming for Asian handicap the game or for the precise result that you just mentioned. So that is the last one from Saturday fixture. Then on Sunday we start with Brighton and Aston Villa, Tom. I know it's been difficult for Brighton. We discussed this other times about as well the amount of injured players they had all season, how difficult it has been for the Cherry to play his best 11. It's been hard for them to play Thursday and Sunday when they were still alive in the Europa League. To lose at home against Arsenal and Manchester City, that's still, of course, part of the deal. But don't you think it's damaging a little bit, for example, when they go to Bournemouth, like last week, even though, again, Bournemouth's having a great season, but losing 3-0, do you think that the Cherry is putting at risk some of the credit he has in the bank, or maybe not? And then comes Aston Villa and Oli Watkins, and we are all in awe with Vinicius' goal against Bayern Munich, but there is an exactly same goal that Oli Watkins scored against Fulham in Craven Cottage. He's having an amazing season. Watkins to score anytime, 2.3, not bad at all. But what's your view here?
Well, I think Brighton are very keen to get rid of Roberto De Zerbi, as keen as Roberto De Zerbi is to leave Brighton. I think he has lost all interest in the club. He's lost all interest in development. He thinks he's going to get picked up by a big club this summer, and maybe he will. But his total lack of interest at Brighton is so evident in post-match, in pre-match, in games. He's lost love. He's lost love for it, and it's a huge issue for Brighton and Hove Albion. If you're going to be a feeder club, if you're going to be a stepping stone, then people are going to get bored quickly if they're asked to stay. And I just think he has to go as soon as possible, and they bring someone else in to follow the club's methods. He's checked out very quickly. They don't win many games. It's just 6 victories since September. I mean, it's an appalling record.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't bet them here. I cannot bet them here. I know they've had injury issues. Absolutely. It was great to see Enciso back last week. He's barely played all season. But the players that are out play above themselves. Like, it's not like another team would be like, oh, we've lost Jack Hinselwood. It's all gone wrong for us. Oh, we've lost Tarek Lamptey. We've lost Pervis Estupinian. These guys, I'm not disrespecting them here, but they're not 40, 50 million pound players. And so to lose them, the way Brighton work, another man comes in and does his job for them. So that doesn't make as big a difference for them as it does for others. Maybe Mitoma is the outlier to that analysis. Everyone else is a bit interchangeable. He's an exceptional player. Missing him is huge. But I don't know. I think they're in a lot of trouble next year, Brighton. I think the next managerial appointment this summer is going to be huge. And in this game, I have no faith in them. They don't win games of football. It's as simple as that. And Aston Villa, you know, the Arsenal performance we've spoken about a few weeks ago, it was the gold standard of away performances this season. They've had some wobbles. Tottenham at home is obviously significant. Second half against Chelsea last week. I actually thought second half against Chelsea last week was their worst performance since the second half at Old Trafford in December. Only because they were so good in the first half. To crumble like that in the second was almost inexplicable. And yes, credit to Chelsea has already been given here. But I don't know what it was. I actually don't. Whether it was lack of confidence, bad tactics, players running out of legs. Of course, they're playing on Thursday in the Conference League, which is huge for Aston Villa. That's a competition now they simply have to win. I think they will. But that might lead to heavy rotation here. But look, I can't bet on Brighton. I can't really see anything other than a Villa win at 2.38. But what I would do here is go with a gut call, pick your winner, and put some money on it. Both decent odds. 2.38 for Villa, nearly 3 for Brighton. I'm going to go Aston Villa. And as ever with Aston Villa, double it with Watkins to score. And that brings you over the threshold. So go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to go, I believe, as well. Aston Villa all the way against Brighton in the Amex. Then, Tom, also on Sunday afternoon, Chelsea West Ham in Stamford Bridge. We mentioned at the beginning of the show, Chelsea playing tonight as well at home, but against Tottenham. So just to go straight to the point, as I mentioned, we can always talk about Ollie Watkins and the individual market when Aston Villa is playing. Ollie Watkins fighting to be the golden boot, but the same goes for Cole Palmer. So is the individual market as well something to look here? Cole Palmer on Chelsea side, Jarrod Bowen on West Ham. Palmer to score anytime against West Ham, odds of 2. Bowen 3.5, which surprises me because he can score, yes, and anytime.
I mean, Jarrod Bowen's a hat-trick away from being in the Premier League's top goal scorer conversation. So I'm surprised at that. And I think I'll just take that on its own. I hadn't seen that on its own this morning. But look, on Chelsea, we spoke about them a little bit earlier on. I don't know what they are. I don't know where they are. I don't know if they're developing or not. I watch them one half like Aston Villa, second half, and think, oh, good team. Moving the ball around, creating chances, using Cole Palmer in the hole and slipping balls in. And doesn't this guy look good? And that guy look good? Then you watch them another game and you think, they're awful. They're running in the wrong direction. Noni Madueke doesn't know what team he's playing for. Enzo Fernandez, useless. Caicedo, 100 million, won't pay a pound for him. Next minute, the exact opposite view. So I don't know. I think Thiago Silva missing is important because there's not senior players in this team. And so him being missing for this game, I think is significant. But look, West Ham are interesting here because all season, for 3 seasons, West Ham have had a game on Thursday, more or less, and then a game on Sunday. Thursday, Sunday. They've barely played a game on Saturday for like 3 years. And I think West Ham would love that to continue. I think they're probably not going to make Europe next season, but still in the mix after the draw against Liverpool last week. And I thought it was quite telling that David Moyes doesn't make substitutions, but they didn't look knackered in the last 10 minutes against Liverpool, as they have done in so many games this season, because he can't make subs, David Moyes. Doesn't like his bench, doesn't want to do it. So Chelsea playing on Thursday, then on Sunday. That's really interesting here. It does give West Ham a bit more of legs, and it gives them a bit more of a chance. And it's worth noting, 7 away wins this season, West Ham. 7 away wins. More away wins than Tottenham. Just 1 less than Villa. 2 less than Liverpool. Incredible. 28 goals scored on the road. Averaging 1.5 goals a game away from home. Really impressive, West Ham, on the road this season. If they were better at home, they might be Champions League contenders. It sounds weird to say because they're so tough to watch, but that's the case of it. But, you know, didn't win the home games against the bad teams. That's what's cost them. Not many injuries to note as well. Areola is back. Bowen is fit. Antonio is fit. Kudus is fit. Paqueta is fit. Probably one of his last games there. Never really worked with Paqueta, I don't think, at West Ham, but still a very good player. It might be, he's never really had a big performance for West Ham across 90 minutes. So, you know, why not now? So, look, I think here there's every chance this game finishes a draw. 4.33. Games between these two have been very, very tight in recent years. West Ham have tended to win at London Stadium. Chelsea have tended to win at Stamford Bridge, though last season it took a terrible refereeing decision and Chelsea had to come from behind to do so. So I think draw here is the most likely bet at 4.33. I've mentioned how good West Ham have been away from home. They also draw a lot of games, West Ham, and Chelsea at home have 4 draws this season at Stamford Bridge. West Ham 10 draws home and away to Chelsea's 9 draws home and away. The form suggests it. I think West Ham can get it, but if you fancy a winner for Chelsea, you do Palmer and Chelsea win. For West Ham, you do Bowen and West Ham win. Bowen and West Ham win, by the way. I found it 8.5. That was mind-blowing to me. So that's got to be worth a couple of euros.
Amazing. That's it, Chelsea and West Ham. Then on Sunday, the last one is Liverpool-Tottenham. Tom, by 3:30 Sunday UK time, I'm going to go quickly and see what's the starting 11 for Liverpool. I think we all like to see if Salah is there or not. Is it going to be more fire or not? I mean, and I guess one day as well, we're going to learn what happened to this Liverpool since that draw 2-2 at Old Trafford with Manchester United, because that's where this awful run of only 5 points in the last 15 in play has started. For Tottenham, the chances of reaching Champions League places are, yes, mathematically real, but very difficult to achieve. They are 7 points behind Villa with 2 games in hand, one of them being played tonight, but the other one is on the 14th of May against Manchester City. After what happened with West Ham, Klopp, Salah, I think that Liverpool for sure will try to correct a few things in front of their people. Liverpool to win first half. I was thinking of this Liverpool trying to take the game by the neck from the very beginning. Odds of 2, Liverpool to win first half. But what's your view? What's your take in this one, Liverpool-Tottenham?
Well, it nearly happened a game last week. Liverpool to concede first and win from behind is always something worth putting money on. That's around 8.59 for this game. It's happened so many times this season. They haven't always got on to win, but when they concede first, they're never out of the game. So if you think Liverpool, 1.5 is no good to you, that's your Liverpool bet. I don't think it's hard to see what's happened. It's hard to explain it. In Jurgen Klopp's time in charge at Liverpool, what he's been able to do is capture lightning in a bottle. What he's been able to do is to get everyone's mind right. A bit like Carlo Ancelotti does at Real Madrid. Is he an incredible tactician? Not really. Not in terms of Guardiola, who has like 9,000 tactical plans. What people like Jurgen Klopp and Carlo Ancelotti do is make you feel good. Make you feel good to know you're a great player and you're going to do your job for me here. There are other people in the camp and in the team that will tell you what your job is, but he's the one that's going to make sure you do it. And I think it just went. I think it went with Jurgen Klopp saying he ran out of energy. I think it went with Mo Salah going off to AFCON and coming back unfit and unhappy. I think that some of the newer players weren't part of the mentality monsters. The midfield is not the mentality monster midfield. Szoboszlai wasn't there. Harvey Elliott's too young. It's not that group. And even up front, Darwin Núñez and Luis Diaz weren't in the mentality monsters. So that whole lot who were part of that wave have all gone. And the new generation haven't been able to capture it for whatever reason. And that's the why is what I can't explain. The what is clear. So I think that Salah will start. I think he does, because I think that why not now at this point? What you were saving him for, I don't know. Let's make him go out there and do it. And I think Liverpool have every chance of winning this game, and probably from behind. But I tell you, I just don't think Liverpool have anything to play for here. And I do think Tottenham do. And I think we're going to get a really thrilling, entertaining game. And I tell you what, Tottenham at 5.5 on its own with Son and Maddison and Richarlison, who came on last week. I mean, you were telling me all game, get Richarlison on. Yeah, get Richarlison on, who, of course, had a big impact in this game last season at Anfield with their chicken dance and all that nonsense. Look, Liverpool aren't really worth betting on unless you bet from behind. So go with Tottenham first goal and take Liverpool to win. You'll make some money. But for me, 5.5 for Tottenham. I think Tottenham are better right now. I think they have a better goalkeeper. I think they have a better defense. I think they have a more settled midfield. If you bring in Pape Sarr and play him alongside probably Bissouma, if not Bissouma, Bentancur, no more Højbjerg. You do that. I think they've also got an offense who can score against the high line. I think goals at both ends. 5.5 take Tottenham.
Perfect. So that leaves us only with one game on Matchday 36, Tom, which is Crystal Palace Manchester United. That's Monday night. For Manchester United, this is going to be the 5th time in the last 11 seasons that they are not qualifying for the Champions League. They have won 2 of the last 9 games. They collected just 10 points since the end of February. They lost 12 games so far in the season. Numbers that we haven't seen with Manchester United in over 30 years. in Crystal Palace, the mood is completely different at this stage. Tom, they won 3 of the last 4 with Glasner. They have collected 15 points so far in 10 matches. So the mood for the next season, at least, and for the future seems pretty much positive for them. And talking about positive, then you have Jean-Philippe Mateta, 8 goals in these 10 games under Glasner. And I don't remember the last time Palace were favorites against Manchester United, but it is what it is, and the odds are showing that. And actually, I agree with that. I can see Palace being the favorite here against Manchester United.
Yeah, me too. And I'll be taking that as my bet for this one, Crystal Palace to win. I think that the only negative for Crystal Palace is that Oliver Glasner has come in and he's had, 10 or 12 games to show us all his wares. And so we start next season, everyone's seen what he wants to do at Crystal Palace. Look at Ange Postecoglou, for example, at Tottenham. That first 10, 15 games, no one could quite work out what was happening, how they play. And now you look at them now, everyone's like, oh, that's what we do. We just drop back a bit. Whatever. It's more complicated than that. But, I think that's the issue with Crystal Palace, that Oliver Glasner has come in and showed us what he wants to do. And now people can work on it over the summer, get ready for next season, and they lose that new manager bounce element. But maybe they needed it this season because of the issues they were in. You mentioned Mateta, terrific form. Both Elise and Eze should be fit. So we might see for just the 4th or 5th time this season, Eze and Elise start together in the Premier League. With Jean-Philippe Mateta, whose improvement has been fantastic from his goal scoring that you've mentioned, to his ball control, to his hold-up play, to his link play, all of it has got significantly better. Not just in the last few weeks, in the last year or so, I'd say he's really improved. Midfield, I really like Adam Morton they've signed as well. I think that's a really shrewd bit of business from the Championship in January to replace Doucouré in midfield. He's been injured for much of the season. So look, really pleased with Crystal Palace, for Crystal Palace, and I like watching them right now, which is weird. For Man United, do you know what? You watch as many games as I do, right? Against Burnley, atrocious. Should have lost, got a point. Against Sheffield United, atrocious. Should have drawn, 1. Against Bournemouth, really atrocious. I think you and I are both doing the commentary of that game. And they somehow didn't lose. I don't really get that. On and on I could go. Against Chelsea, they were atrocious and eventually lost, but nearly won. Like, I don't get it. The midfield is slow. The offense is weak. The defense is poor. The goalkeeper is a calamity. They should have 20 less points than they have. It's unbelievable to me they're going to qualify for European football when you consider below them in the table, Newcastle, desperate for it. West Ham, desperate for it. Bournemouth, desperate for it. Man United in the Conference League is going to be a nightmare. They are just going to whinge and moan and piss about it all year. So I hope Crystal Palace win so we can not have to suffer through that. I think it's probably going to be a draw, frankly, at 3.9 because Man United keep being useless and getting something. The only great player at Man United is Bruno Fernandes. There's some talk that he wants to leave in the summer. Good on him. He should get out of there. He's done his bit for years and years and years. They're not building a team around him, so just get out of there. Go to Paris Saint-Germain and win your Liga trophies. If you want Man United, good odds for Man U. Couple it with Bruno Fernandes and you'll win some money. But for me, take Crystal Palace or a draw.
Yes, and Jean-Philippe Mateta to score anytime 2.8, but yes, Crystal Palace for me as well, screaming this game. Amazing as always, amazing insight from Tom. That is everything you need to know about Matchday 36 in the Premier League. Before we move into the safe bet and ACCA, for all of you watching, please, guys, we've been saying this all week. Do not forget to join our monthly tipster competition. You can join for free on our website. You can win 1,000 euros in prize pool. We have listened as well to your feedback, so we have tweaked the rules, so which have taken place. So they start taking place from yesterday, from the 1st of May. So please go to the website and read them. It won't take more than a minute. And again, if you haven't joined our monthly tipster competition, go and do so. Tom, your safe bet.
Safe bet you won't be surprised to hear is Manchester City, but
No.
For them just winning, it's like no money. You know the bookies if you bet on them just winning. So take minus 1.5. It's 2-0 or above. It's 1.3. It's relatively low, but throw it into a wide ACCA. You'll make some money on that. It's pretty safe.
And what's your ACCA?
I'm going for a double this week. I've won some ACCAs recently on trebles, but I keep getting let down on the third result. So I've got 2 risky results for an ACCA that brings you in at nearly 5. Newcastle to win at Burnley feels very likely. Aston Villa to win at Brighton's a daring one because of Villa being in Europe in midweek. But that double brings you in at 4.8 for two likely results. I'm surprised how high that is.
Yes, and actually, come on, is there like two likely results and good odds on that ACCA, and only 2 games? Tom, amazing. Thanks a lot. A pleasure as always to be with you. And you guys, before you go, if you haven't done it yet, like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Thank you. Bye bye.